Of not just last year's Micronesian Games, but the 1998 Micronesian Games. So obviously good, strong performances across a range of sports. But again, they will be concerned that wrestling and softball, which they won most of their medals in the 99 Games, are not sports that are represented here at the Suva Games in 2003.
Yes, you're right, Charles, but nevertheless, a lot of work, as I say, has been going on in sports up in that part of the world, and they'll now want to kick it on and try and test themselves out against some of the more established teams down here in the Central and Southern Pacific. And Palau is definitely another one of these teams that we must keep an eye on. In fact, their chef de mission, Barclay Tenengal, has stood aside from her administrative duties here. She would normally be going to attend things like council meetings and so on, but in fact is part of the women's outrigger canoe team.
Now, Samoa and the National Stadium here in Fiji normally means it's a rugby fixture, but this is the opening ceremony of the 2003 South Pacific Games, and you can see this multiracial crowd that we have here at the National Stadium is undecided as to whether it should be a warm or a challenging welcome for these traditional rivals of Fiji.
And Samoa, of course, great traditional rivals of Fiji, and they went within one vote of getting the South Pacific Games in this year, 2003. You'll remember that drama-filled vote a number of years ago now, but by just one vote missed out on hosting this event.
But in some sort of recompense, they will be hosting the South Pacific Games in 2007, having won the vote in 2001, beating off New Caledonia, I believe, was competing for the hosting rights.
New Caledonia it was, and I'm sure New Caledonia will be putting its hand up in the near future. But Samoa, very powerful, sevens of course, and David Tour, a world-ranked boxer, heavyweight boxer, has been working with their boxing team as well. In fact, a number of these Samoans have been based down in New Zealand at the Tour camp, and the Tour man has been working his magic. Is a big supporter of the South Pacific Games. We remember him a few years ago in American Samoa when he turned up and signed autographs and stood in the corner for his Samoan boxing team. He probably will turn up as well, but certainly been supporting Team Samoa. And the netball team, the perennial bridesmaids, usually finishing out of the medals, but they're here this time to try and break in for the first time into the top 3 positions. Well, they might be the host of the 2007 South Pacific Games, but they've got some work to do here in 2003. But whatever, for the moment, they're certainly enjoying their experiences, Charles.
And if you're looking at the crowd, if you're looking at the Samoan contingent looking for your rugby stars, they fly into the country on Tuesday ahead of the start of the rugby competition on Friday and Saturday next week.
A lot of pride in this Samoan team. So watch out, medal prospects in boxing, basketball, tennis. Of course, the great Sonolole family representing Samoa in tennis, bodybuilding and powerlifting. Here's this Samoan haka. We've been seeing quite a lot of it lately as Samoa really gets set to try and mix it up with the top teams here.
Just reviewing their performance from the 99 Games. Wrestling, 7 gold medals, 3 silvers. Weightlifting, 5 gold, 3 silvers, 1 bronze. Boxing, 2 gold, 1 silver, 2 bronze. And tennis, 3 golds, 1 silver. A total of 4 medals from tennis. Coming onto the National Stadium, the Solomon Islands.
Solomon Islands beset by a series of financial problems prior to getting here. In fact, they had to drop 4 of their 16 sports. It was basketball, volleyball, table tennis, and also lawn bowls. that the Solomons had to drop. They were in all sorts of financial difficulty, but they are here, and there will be at least 11 gentlemen amongst that group who believe that they have in their safekeeping a gold medal. They will want to get a gold medal in soccer.
The ethnic unrest, obviously, which has been such a problem for the Solomon Islands. One of the few things that everybody agrees has helped to bring the country together, to bring the people together, has been sport. I was reading the report of the 2002 National Olympic Committee. They said that while everything else was not working, sport carried on. Every week, not just in Honiara, but all around the islands, sport was the one thing that kept the country going.
Solomon Islands have worked extremely hard to get here, but they've made it to the opening ceremony of the 12th South Pacific Games. You're seeing pictures streaming out of the National Stadium here in Suva, Fiji. We've had some rain showers. They've gone. The evening is warming up in more ways than one. There's a great sense of excitement as the lights begin to kick in across this refurbished facility here as we welcome Tokelau to this National Stadium. This tiny team.
The flag bearer for Tokelau is Dr. Semo Koro, one of the first Tokelauans to get interested in lawn bowls.
Tiny team to be basically represented by a lawn bowls team here. Tokelau, of course, we don't see them too often around the Pacific, but despite that, they're getting a very warm welcome, Charles.
And it's something I know that the organisers of the Games take great pride in, that for the first time in the 40-year history of the Games, every single country that could take part is taking part. And Tokelau is one of those countries, as you said, a tiny place, scarce resources, which has taken the time, the effort to prepare a team, to find the funding. And it's really Fiji and its role as it sees itself as the crossroads of the Pacific that is making this sort of access possible.
Yes, Tokelau will fancy themselves, I think, primarily in the lawn bowls competition here at the South Pacific Games.
From the Kingdom of Tonga.
And you can see now how the athletes are being assembled in the central area where they will enjoy the entertainment a little bit later on today.
Now a big and powerful welcome coming up for the next team on the schedule, and that is the Tongans. A very important week in the Kingdom of Tonga, obviously. Everybody getting ready to celebrate the King of Tonga's birthday, which falls on July the 4th in just a couple of days' time. So they will be competing not just for national pride, but for the pride of the King of Tonga.
Yes, the Kingdom well represented here with some 223 athletes in 18 sports, and like a number of the other countries will be flying them in as they're required here in Fiji. So consequently the numbers are a little bit down here at the opening ceremony, but that doesn't detract from the enthusiasm. They've got a very powerful track and field team, the Tongans. Look out for their women, Anna Pohila, Melahika Ui and Melissa Malekio in the track and field comp. Anna Pohila in particular is Commonwealth ranked, and she will certainly be mixing it with the best here.
And obviously the Tongans will fancy themselves in the rugby competition, which starts next week. 1979, one of the greatest upsets in South Pacific Games history, when Fiji were beaten by Tonga 6 points to 3. In those days the competition was 15 aside, not 7 aside as it has been for the last couple of games, but the Tongans certainly will think that they have every chance of repeating that. And certainly if it will bring honour and pleasure to the King of Tonga, you can imagine how fired up they will be.
hosts of the 1989 Mini South Pacific Games. In fact, here in Fiji, they have for the first time a women's outrigger team and also a female weightlifter as well.
There's a huge Tongan community in Fiji, and in the opening ceremony that is still to come, we will be seeing a representation of the Tongan community and their contributions that they have made over several generations to the fabric of life in Fiji. One of the great memories of my life was watching Paea Wolfgram in the finals of the boxing competition from the 1996 Atlanta Olympics, and how proud I was, how proud I felt that he had done so well for the whole of the Pacific, not just for Tonga. But it was a wonderful thing to watch.
Indeed, we all were very proud of the great man's achievements in Atlanta, beaten in that final by Klitschko, who has been making a bit of a name for himself against Lewis in recent days. But Paea, the great man, now retired, of course. Tuvalu is welcomed to the National Stadium here in Fiji.
The flag bearer for Tuvalu is Tokelau of table tennis, who represented Tuvalu at the Oceania
a team we don't see too regularly at the South Pacific Games. In fact, if our information is right, it probably is their first time here since 1979 as an independent country. We saw them in the South Pacific Games in the early history of this event. In those days, they competed as the Gilbert and Ellice Islands, of course, are very close to and part of Kiribati, that part of the world in Micronesia. But here, of course, Tuvalu. Represented at the Manchester Commonwealth Games in table tennis. You're with us for the opening ceremony of the 12th South Pacific Games. Tuvalu in shot as the lights begin to kick in here at the National Stadium. You can see them in the background. You can see the huge crowds in here really beginning to soak up this atmosphere, and I think, Charles, get a sense of what the South Pacific Games are about. They've heard about it, they've read about it, they've seen the advertising, but now it begins in earnest. All 22 countries are here. Here's another one of them, Vanuatu.
Vanuatu is a country that's dear to the heart of many people in Fiji. We remember some epic soccer clashes between Fiji and Vanuatu for Melanesian supremacy.
There's a great sense of festivity here, and the atmosphere is absolutely electric. Yes, 200 athletes from Vanuatu, 12 sports. Their soccer team, of course, is one that we're going to have to keep an eye on here. They weren't too happy about the initial draw here and went to the South Pacific Games organisers to make them have a bit of a rethink about that. But I think in the end, sort of stoically accepted what they were given, rationalising their position as saying, well, if we have to take on the top teams like Fiji and the Solomons in the first round, so be it. We've got to beat them anyway if we want that gold medal. Boxing is a sport which makes a bit of a comeback for Vanuatu this time. Track and field, a younger team, of course, for years we've been interested in the career of Mary Estelle Kapulu, the great 400 runner and 400 hurdler, who of course is retired but is here as a track and field manager this time. Vanuatu's very colourful shirts. It was raining earlier at the South Pacific Games, but those showers have gone. It's warming up to be a beautiful night here in Suva, and you're joining us for the opening ceremony of the South Pacific Games. I'm here with Charlie Charters, and Charlie, as we look out over this amazing expanse, over the top of Vanuatu, you can just see the centre of this massive arena beginning to fill up with the colours and the personality of the 22 countries of the Pacific.
It's a wonderful thing to be here, watching this opening ceremony unfold. We're in a very fortunate position up here in the lofty heights of the top of the stadium. Just behind us, processing through the back, are the choirs that we will be listening to in the next couple of hours. So it really is a very rich kind of orchestra of sounds and song, and a great deal of emotion at this very important day.
That's the white crescent of Wallis and Futuna now. 90 athletes in this team. They'll be competing in 11 sports. Got a very proud tradition of competition at the South Pacific Games as well. Eclipsed a little bit, I guess, by the other Francophone nations in this part of the world. But Wallis and Futuna traditionally have produced some wonderful track and field athletes in particular.
And the significance of Wallis and Futuna in many ways to those watching locally in Fiji is that if you go through your alphabet, you'll realize that that's the last name on the list. The next name to come through will be the host team, Fiji, as we watch Wallis and Futuna enjoy the spectacle, the emotion, the atmosphere of the national stadium.
And it looks like a traditional welcome now by the Walusians. Their flag bearer today, incidentally, is a 15-year-old, Jean-Jacques Halakilikili. 15-year-old, perhaps one of the youngest competitors here. We'll see him in the sailing competition. A number of sailing divisions, of course. The lasers will be going across Suva Harbour, so too the Hobie Cats. But we'll look out for the Walusians in canoeing, weightlifting, badminton, athletics, volleyball, beach volleyball, and, as we say, sailing as well. Interestingly as well, Charles, Wallis, while they're here at next week's South Pacific Games Council meeting, could be putting in a bid for the 2009 Mini South Pacific Games. And if they do, that means that they come up against the Cook Islands, who have definitely signalled their intention to bid for the next Mini South Pacific Games. And that would be a very interesting vote. It's a beautiful night here in Suva now. We were a little bit worried, I must say, when we first came down to this beautifully rejuvenated stadium about the weather conditions. The wind was up, the rain was swirling around, but the rain is gone now. And here's the Walusian team, some 90 of them, to perform in front of the VIP podium and dais. And the crowd absolutely soaking up every moment of it. They absolutely adore this, and this is the epitome of the South Pacific Games.
There's an amazing opportunity at these opening ceremonies for countries to really grab people's imagination. You remember the Tongans did it at the Commonwealth Games in Manchester when they all en masse bowed in front of the Queen during the opening ceremony, and it was just amazing to see how the people of Britain really took the Tongans to heart for the respect that they were showing to the Queen. And I think of the contingent we've seen so far, I think Wallis and Futuna, a country many people in Fiji might struggle to find on a map, this is definitely their big leap forward into people's imagination. A wonderful spectacle.
You know, Charles, we're perhaps in a fortunate position of having seen some of the major international events, Commonwealth Games, Olympic Games even. But there is something magic. There is something absolutely unbelievable when the Pacific gets together en masse and in numbers like this. I can't quite put my finger on it. I've been doing it long enough, but this is just beautiful.
I would imagine if you wanted to try and capture that. It's the absence of rules and regulations. Certainly when you go to the Olympics, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't call, you can't speak, you must be in line, you must process at this speed, you must clear the track at that point, you must sit here, stand there, don't talk, don't look here, don't talk. And you get a sense with the South Pacific Games that although the competition obviously is the reason that we're all here, there's something bigger and stronger. It's a fellowship of people that we're actually here to celebrate.
They've done it. They've well and truly done it. Wallis have won absolutely everyone in this national stadium here at the opening ceremony of the 12th South Pacific Games. A beautiful impromptu performance, and the Wallachians absolutely amazing.
If there was a gold medal up for grabs in terms of audience interaction, that would be the first one. But the key thing is, just around the corner we have the entrance of the Fiji team. And if there was a warm reception to the friendly islanders from Wallis and Futuna, I can't imagine what's just around the corner when Fiji come into the national stadium.
Misambula, Fiji!
There is a moment in a country's history, and I think it is going to be defined right now, because after 40 years this epic team is about to step out onto the national stadium here in Suva, and even the rain won't be keeping people in their seats. Charlie Chattis, a moment to behold.
This really is a very special moment for all of us in Fiji. The South Pacific Games, much more than a sporting occasion. It's been described as an opportunity for the country to be rebuilt, to rediscover itself, to pay homage to all of those elements, the multiracialism, our youth, the spirit of competition, our place, our unique place in the Pacific, as a way of somehow reaffirming what makes Fiji great. And especially significant, the decision of the flag bearer, Makalesi Bulikiombo, an extraordinary athlete of which much is expected, and she holds Fiji's flag up high, and one can barely imagine the emotions she must be feeling. She's suffered 2 terrible bereavements in the last 2 weeks. Her coach and mentor of sorts, Lysa Dimbuka, died just last week. You'll remember she was a bronze medalist in the 99 400 meters, and longtime coach and friend and official George Williams as well. So this is a very, very happy occasion, but it's also an occasion where we reflect on the emotions that must be bubbling through Makalesi's breast as she leads this huge contingent that is enjoying a standing ovation from the national stadium crowd. Happy, smiling faces.
Makalesi won 5
Well, the
gold
moment
medals
has
at
come
the South
for
Pacific
Fiji.
Mini Games
This
in
is where this team
2001.
is going to have to...
She's the national and South Pacific record holder for the 100 meters, 200 meters and 400 meters. She is also a silver and bronze medalist from the Australian National Athletics Championships.